Okay. Mic check 1 2 1 2. I am the Y2K collector and I am back. It has been quite some time. April was just a beast of a month when it came to just work and time or lack thereof. And so didn't really get to do a lot of game hunting or as much as I would have wanted to. But there are a few things that I'm noticing out there in the hunting world, which is that the main thing is that there's a lot more competition. I feel like there's a lot more people out there hunting specifically for video games and retro games in particular. It's almost like the memo went out and it keeps going out every month, and just more and more you see folks out there searching for games. So it does mean that it's a little bit more difficult to find gems. I think gone are the days where you're going to run into some holy grails, but they're still out there and you can get them. And I'm going to go through some April highlights with you real quick. A couple of these games you've probably seen me show throughout the month, so these will be the ones that were the standouts, and then I've got a bunch of new pickups that I've been able to get since my last video. So I'm not going to do too much jabbering or blabbering, and I'm going to go ahead and dive right into it. So we're going to go ahead and start off with some Xbox 360 pickups, and I've really been into my hack and slash, so we'll start it off with El Shaddai, and this is for the Xbox 360. This is a pretty cool hack and slash type game. I did see some footage on this one and I wanted to add it to the collection and play it, so I'll be excited to dive into that one. That's El Shaddai. Another cool one, kind of like an adventure game here. This is Knight's Contract. So this is like an adventure role-playing type game. It's got some action in there. You've got some special abilities, a little bit of hacking and slashing. And this was a cool one that I saw for the 360. And there are some really cool games for the Xbox 360. And that's kind of what I want to get. Because it's such a cheap system to collect for, it's weird. It's like the same game on the PS3 will be like $50 or $60 more. It's just weird how that works. Anyway, so Castlevania 2, Lords of Shadow, or Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 on the Xbox 360. I'm a huge Castlevania fan, and this was a very inexpensive way to, add this Castlevania game to my library. So glad to have that. All those were complete in box, and those were some pretty cool Xbox 360 pickups in April. Now we're going to talk about some Sony pickups in April that were some really cool standout pickups, and I'll talk about them. So ran into a few PS3 games at the thrift store, but one of the better ones that I picked up was Little Big Planet 3. So I've never played any one of the games from this series. I've never played any of the Little Big Planet games. So hey, if I'm starting at part 3, it'll be cool. And this was about $2 at the local game store, so grab that, or the thrift store rather. Then I added Viking to my PS3 collection. I love Sega. They make some of my favorite hack and slash type games across multiple consoles, and so this was one that I wanted to add. Just seemed like a pretty cool adventure game on the PS3, so that was one I added there. And then more of that hack and slash style, added Conan to the PS3 collection as well. So yes, I've been getting into the PS3 and I've also been getting into the Xbox 360, but again, only looking for certain titles that really tickle my fancy, and so Conan was right up my alley. All right, so also got some pretty cool PS4 games, so some more recent and modern stuff. Was able to get my hands on a deluxe edition copy of Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. This is a very colorful, animated 3D open world type of adventure game. The powers and abilities in this game look really cool, and I'm excited to dive into this one. But yeah, Kenna on the PS4, Bridge of Spirits. That's a cool one. And then I do love the Neptunia and the Senran Kagura series. There's a bunch of different games that have been made within these franchises, and so I went ahead and got the Neptunia Senran Kagura Ninja Wars on the PS4, and pretty cool hack and slash type game, right? So pretty stoked about this one, and looking forward to checking that out. I'm all about the gameplay. As you can see, it gets a little repetitive in my collection a little bit, but those are the types of games that I like. And I, if I'm going to build a collection, it needs to be stuff that I'm going to enjoy. So moving along within the PlayStation family, was able to find some pretty cool equipment. So was able to pick up a couple controllers. So this was a new PS4 controller. Just had a little dust on it, but the buttons are super tight, and it really kind of just feels like this was hardly ever used. So pretty stoked to have that in the collection as well. So added that PS2 DualShock controller. Those are like between 20 and 25 bucks, I think. And that was at the thrift store for about $5. Then they also had a PS3 controller here. This was about $4. So a pretty cool PS3 controller. Again, DualShock. The analog sticks are in pretty responsive. All the buttons felt good. I've tested them both, and they're both in working order. So pretty cool pickups there. And then last but not least, I was able to get my hands on check it out, a PSP for $25, I think is what they had this one for. This one was on discount, and I went ahead and got that there. So pretty clean PS4? Sorry, pretty clean PSP, if I do say so myself. So this is the PSP 1000. And when I saw this, I was like, I got to check this out. They had it on sale. I said $25. Why not? I have the PSP, I think 2000 model. I actually have a couple of those. I have one complete in box, brand new, and I have the one that I play. So I wanted to get the 1000 model because I did hear that it was heavy, it was more weighty, but the screen wasn't as good. It is true. I don't think the difference in picture quality between the 1000 and the 2000 is that crazy. But you do feel like you're really holding a solid handheld when you're holding the 1000. So, tough little machine, pretty cool to have. All right, so that does it for the PlayStation pickups. Now I'm going to go ahead and cruise on into the Nintendo family, and I'm going to change things up here with this group. So I did wind up getting my hands on a Wii bundle. So this was pretty cool here. Was glad to get that. They had a pretty moderately clean Wii black. There was no dust. It wasn't much dust in the fan, which, you see sometimes with those older beat up ones. So it turned on. There was no humming. Picked it up. It was about $29. It came with 2 sets of Wii Motion Plus remotes with the nunchucks, and I think a baseball game. So that wasn't a bad pickup for me. I do already have a Wii. I think I have like the Gen 1, the one that plays the GameCube games and stuff. But this one was pretty cool to get just because it's cleaner. And I think the faceplate on my other Wii broke off. So that was one that I think I'm going to go ahead and add. Oh, I do have an additional black Wii, but that one I'm going to go ahead and sell. So good find there. All right, so moving right along with some of the hardware. April was very good to me with the handheld. So you already saw I got my hands on a PSP, but amongst other handhelds, I did get my hands on the original 3DS. So I think this is the original 3DS XL. Is this the Nintendo 3DS, right? So this is the 3DS. They had this at one of my local thrift stores, and I went ahead and picked that up. It was very, very clean. The only thing is that it is missing the stylus. So no stylus on this thing, but still pretty good. Then behind that, I had also picked up a very good DS Lite. Yes, a DS Lite. And this DS Lite was great. The thing I love the most about this DS Lite is how bright the screen was. Screen is very bright, very responsive. The screen was solid. The overall game was solid. Or the console is solid. A lot of times when I see these, they're really beat up. But this thrift store that I go to, usually the ones they get are in very clean condition. I actually just sold a red one. But yeah, as you can see, what's in here is one of my favorite handheld games. And hold on, let me go ahead and just hit English on that. So yes, Commando Steel Disaster. Listen to that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Straight action. This game is like Metal Slug on steroids. Yeah, that music right there, that music gets your heart going, right? And look at how you start off. Look, you're on a motorcycle, you're shooting, got guys coming down on you. That's exactly how the game starts. So anyway, pretty good DS Lite there. Then next up, what did I get? I was stoked when I ran into this because I've really been looking for a clean Gameboy Advance SP, and they had one here. So this is an original Gameboy Advance SP Red. This was pretty darn mint. I don't ever see them this clean. I think there was next to, and I know I'm struggling with this focus here, but there's next to 0 scratches on this thing. Very clean. The only thing is that they had like a sticker at the bottom, and I had to be real careful because I almost pulled this label off here in the bottom. But again, this is an original Game Boy Advance SP. Now this is not the AGS 101, unfortunately. This is a 001, but nevertheless, I'll open it up. Super duper clean. Mint. It was like right out the box. So this was one that I definitely wanted to add to the collection, just because of how clean it was. So yeah, an original Game Boy Advance SP. There's a little bit of scratching at the top, so whoever had it did use it. So there's some light scratches, but overall very, very clean. I don't see them that clean often. So got those there. Then we'll talk about some Game Boy games since we're on the Game Boy. Got some really gnarly Game Boy Advance Grails. So here goes one. This is Drill Dozer. So this is a game that I got in April. This is a very fun game, very unique game. I feel like this is a game that you would see like on the Dreamcast in some way. I feel like this is a game that should be in a 3D version or 3D format on the Dreamcast. But Drill Dozer is a really cool game. It's kind of extended because inside this cartridge is a rumble pack, which goes off every time you start drilling something in this game. So that's a really cool feature. Something you don't see often with Game Boy Advance games, and this is one I wanted to add to my personal collection. I love my beat 'em ups too, so went ahead and got Final Fight 1. This is a really cool one. It's pretty much Final Fight. It's like a ROM or almost an emulation of Final Fight 1 for Super Nintendo. I think the difference is that you can play as like Guy straight out the gate. I think. Then next up, I just showed you Commando Steel Disaster. Well, get a dose of this Metal Slug Advanced. I'm always looking for those gnarly run and gun shooters, and this is one that needed to be in my Game Boy Advance collection. I don't have a big Game Boy Advance collection. I think I've only got about 35 games or so, but this was one that I wanted to add in there, and that was cool. And then in April, I think this is the most fun game I've played all year, which is crazy because I've played a lot of games, but this game right here, Dragon Ball Advance Adventure, This is a freakishly fun game. It's crazy how good this game is. I mean, you can do ground combos, air combos. You can charge up and shoot fire blasts. You can, grow your skills and grow your HP and your stamina and and learn Kamehamehas. And it's a really fun game. It's an adventure fighting game. It's strange. And then like when you get to the boss battles and you fight them, you fight them almost like in a like a versus, like in a fighting game way, not like your traditional, like, if you were to be fighting a boss in like Super Metroid, it's a different type of combat system as opposed to like a 2D straight up Street Fighter style fight. And that's how you fight your bosses in this game, which is really fun. So I recommend you check this game out, Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure. This will probably be one of the most fun games you play if you're into action and kind of like fighting games. All right, sticking with the handhelds right now. Also got my hands on a few cool DS games. We'll talk about some of them. So Mario Party DS. I mean, this one was cool for me just because I'm trying to get all of the Mario games for my DS collection, and these types of games are easier to run into and they're usually not expensive. So this was one that I was able to add to the collection. Then I had a couple thrift store finds, which I was really stoked about. The first one was Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. This one went in my collection. I had been eyeing this game online for a long time, and I'm really glad I never bought it because look, I ran into it at the thrift store. This was $5, I think, or $4 at the thrift store. This was one I definitely took home. And then another one I took home that day. This one was kind of weird, but I still took it anyway. This was Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. This was like the GameStop promotional game. So I'm pretty sure this store or this thrift store is getting their games from like either closed down stores that are getting rid of like their inventory, and that's just kind of what they're getting. And it's crazy. But this was complete in box. All the games are complete in box, by the way. It's just that this has that kind of funky promotional cover art. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep it. I'll see if I can get my hands on a regular version. But this was another cool ad for cheap. So those were some of the Game Boy and DS pickups. All right, sticking with Nintendo, we're going to go into that hybrid mode and talk about some Switch finds during April, some highlights. I'm going to show these two together. These were some GameStop pickups that I found like in the middle of April or beginning of April. And it was R-Type Final 2 and then also CKO Shooting Stars Alpha. I was really psyched to find the CKO. You don't really see this out in like a GameStop anymore. And I think these are at least the Shooting Stars Alpha is pretty pricey online now. So was stoked to find those two at a GameStop. Then I had some limited run pre-orders come in, and I was happy about those. So we'll talk about it. Ruby, a pretty cool hack and slash type game, more kind of animated style. And then Pathways, more like a top-down 2D sprite-based style game, but I love the artwork on that. Both of these games I saw coming out from limited run. I don't get all of the limited run, games, but these were two that I wanted to add to the collection, so I added those. And then I had to add a couple of shoot 'em ups. You saw a few of the two in the beginning, the CKO Shooting Stars and then the R-Type Final 2. But then I went ahead and picked up Andros Dunos 2 by Pixel Heart. I'm a huge Pixel Heart fan. I've got a bunch of Pixel Heart games, and this was one that I had pre-ordered a while back. And then Rolling Gunner and Overpower. This is another pretty cool collection of shmups here for the Switch, or these were ported to the Switch. So hopefully we see more really cool classic shoot 'em ups end up on the Switch, especially the ones that came out on like PC Engine or Sega Saturn. I'd love to see games like Radiant Silvergun hit the Switch. I'd love to see I mean, you can already play Ikaruga on the Switch, so that's cool. But I'd love to see games like Hyperduel, Metal Black, Dodon Patchy. Those games need to hit the Switch soon. All right, and then I've got one more Switch pickup. This is very uncharacteristic of me, but I did see this and I wanted to get it. So Paper Mario Origami King. If you follow the channel, I don't do a ton of these Mario games, but the Origami King kind of spoke to me. I felt like this was a really cool game that I would want to get into, and I do like the art style and the graphics on this game. So this was one that I picked up. All right, now down to the last three. So speaking of Mario and Origami, we're gonna go back a little bit retro, a little bit back here, and we've got Paper Mario Color Splash on the Wii U. This was one that I saw and I said, okay, if I'm gonna go down this Paper Mario path, let me go down it. And I do have a Wii. I have a small Wii collection, and this is one that I wanted to add. So I'm glad that I added Paper Mario Color Splash, because I don't know if there's any other way to play that game outside of the Wii U. All right, and then now we're gonna save the last two, and I saved these for last because I know how much hype there is around the GameCube right now. So the first game that we have here was Pikmin. This was a thrift store find, and I was really stoked to grab this. Pikmin on the GameCube. I never really played a ton of this game when I originally had the GameCube back in like junior high or high school or something like that, but was glad to find this. I know that these games are getting a bit pricey online, so when I find them at thrift stores, I definitely snag them up. And then last but not least, this is a game that I really wanted to get. I'm really glad that I got this game in my collection here. And this is Billy Hatcher. And, this isn't one of the most expensive GameCube games, but it is one of the most fun for me. It's right up my alley with that whole 3D, has like that whole 3D action, not so much beat 'em up style, but, it's Sega. And Sega makes some pretty cool, like, anything action that Sega has its hands on, it's usually pretty fun. And that's a brand that I trust. And Billy Hatcher for me is kind of like along the lines of like a Wario World. I like the GameCube for those types of games, and this was one that I definitely wanted to add to the collection. And that does it for the April highlights and end of month pickups. And like I said, there's still a lot of deals to be had out there. There's still a lot of things that you can pick up. That competition is getting fierce though. And even people who weren't normally thrifting for video games are starting to do their research, and they're going after games. So I guess the best thing that I could say is that the early bird gets the worm. Get there first and be able to recognize the games that you want as soon as you get to where you're going, whether it be a yard sale, thrift store, pawn shop, whatever the case may be, just because it's getting harder and harder to find the good stuff. And then when you do find a place where you can get some good stuff, the competition is fierce. So that does it. Let me know down in the comments what you've been up to, what you've picked up, how your collection is looking. Are you getting what you want? And I'll catch you in the next video. I am the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.